What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Games Recap. The Prodigy Sons have returned from their short-term vacation. And joining us, of course, is us.
Charles, Brandon Pham.
What's up, everybody? So every week, or every day, at 10 a.m. in the morning, we will give you a game developer's perspective on game news.
Yeah, big game news.
Exactly. If you're watching us live, you're, of course, watching us on our twitch.tv/blue_champs. If you're watching this after the fact, you're probably watching us from our youtube.com/bluechamps. If you are watching this free, we welcome that, but we also welcome people who are paying us directly on our patreon.com/bluechamps.
Yep, every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps, especially if you don't want to leave Twitch. You want to be a Twitch subscriber. Yeah. You can just subscribe there, and we will get that money somehow.
Yeah, the Amazon Prime $5 free membership. If you've got no one else to offer it to, hey, hook up the homies, and we'll keep making cool content. So, thanks for being there, watching. Also, again, shout out to everybody who's in the Twitch comments right now. Our tech support advisors, always on call. Appreciate those guys.
Yes.
So
although we are the only ones on camera, right? That doesn't mean your opinions don't matter, right? You can interact with us. We will respond to you directly if you are on our Twitch chat. So be sure to tune in, or while you're watching, thank you for joining us. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go into our next topic for the day. So this topic is something that I've been proudly saying that this is the future for game developers. But this article came across my feed as something very interesting. This is an article that we're going to reference for today's episode, and it's about Netflix. Is it really bad for a game development model, right? Okay. Is Netflix model good for games or not? Right. This article is an opinion piece, of course, but it raises a lot of good points that I want us to kind of go over. So if you don't mind, Larry, kind of go over like your overview of what you think this model that everyone's approaching right now with Stadia, with Game Pass, is it healthy for us as an industry?
All right. So if I think about me being the developer, and so the Netflix version of a game service comes to me and says, "Hey, Larry, we want to license your studio software for our project." First question I have is, okay, well, how do I get paid? Without seeing the details behind whatever company in this article is going to say, I would imagine there's two opportunities, right? We're just going to buy exclusivity from you for a set price, or we're going to possibly give you like some sort of percentage royalty share of all the money that we get from all of our subscribers based on how much activity your product actually generates. And then there's probably some sort of flat rate there as well. Either way, these are brand new pricing models that game developers are now having the option of dealing with. And I will say that they both actually sound risky to me. Well, the least risky is we'll just give you a flat rate. So if they say like, hey, we'll give you $300,000 to have your game on our service, I would have to hope that the game only cost me $200,000 to make for that to feel like it was a great deal. Right. You know what I mean? Right. If that front end wasn't high enough that it took care of me worrying about whatever royalties that we were missing out on, that's a big concern. Hey, Raymond. Praveen. What's up, dude? So that's what I look at as a developer myself, is like, how is the payment model going to actually affect my bottom line? If it's you're going to get a piece of the royalty from all the customers that we have, and let's say the customer demographics aren't that high, obviously that'd be very concerning, because they're asking you to be exclusive on a platform that isn't yet proven, is still growing. You know what I mean? Doesn't have a huge subscriber base. So you automatically know that your revenues are probably not going to be very large. What are the benefits of joining something small with your hard-earned blood, sweat, and tears product that you just released? I would say there's probably a whole lot less competition, right? Like if you're 1 out of 100 games on a service, there's a higher chance that you're going to get eyes on your product and interacted with, because obviously if the consumer is part of that service, they've already paid the $9, so they're probably more likely going to try a couple of games. Yeah. So you'll probably get more attention. Right. But you can't really capitalize off the attention other than that person being excited about the service, telling other people to get the service to then go check out.
Right. So, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons. And whenever, at least when I talk about it, I think about the idealistic version of how this can be helpful. So I really do shy away from, like, what are the bad things, or even people complaining about how the music industry, Spotify experience is a lot different than other type of platforms, right? So let's take a look at this article. Let's jump right in and actually break it down, man. So, of course, the business model, is it bad news for indie games, which is fastly approaching to be the norm, right, for a lot of these console makers. So reading straight from the article from Engadget, there's a lot of plans nowadays, right? We don't need to look any further than our cousin, the movie industry, to see what they're doing over there with movies. And everyone's kind of moving towards, for both TV and movie, a subscription model, hoping that people will continuously pay for life. And it is, honestly, I feel, a mutual exchange in a lot of ways. Well, the movie industry or movie studio side, they can have like a history that they can look at, and then some projection of like, hey, if we lose a few or 10%, we can still project forward and have a fee that we can pay everyone, right? It's a lot better than waiting for a movie to be a hit or not, and then having to like not renew anybody's contract, right? So the games industry is in a similar boat, right? I think we're fastly adopting this model, because on our developer side, like you mentioned before, we're waiting for whether it's a blockbuster hit or fail or flop, right? And we have a lot more flops than success. Sure. And so the industry has been suffering for it. So this model hopefully is going to translate from what it has done for the movie industry to our industry. And that's what we're hoping. But this article argues, talking points that I would like to bring up with you to see if you agree or not. Yeah. So let's run with a Netflix example, right? What the company is known for. They acquire shows and movies and licensing agreements based on contract length, exclusivity, and an estimated cost per hour view, right? So they actually factor that in, like in a project, how many people of their viewers were actually like watching it. Yeah. Netflix pinpoints this final figure by tracking audience habits and predicting the number of hours each project that will be likely watched during the time frame of its contract. So they can use their data of years of like this genre, types of people that would watch it, how many subscribers of that fit within that subject, and be able to tell like anybody that they're licensing, this is probably the estimate of so this is what we're going to pay you fairly, right? That's a very clear point, non-complex, no headaches for anyone. That I agree. So far, so good. So what's the problem? So basically, a minute-based accounting system may work for a medium with a single passive input method viewing, but it falls apart when applied to games. Why is that? Pay-per-play is really bad for short games, and so I hate it. Hyper Light Drifter developer and former Square Enix creative director Teddy told Engadget, I want it to walk away into the sea and stay there. If developers are paid per minute of play, longer games and replayable games make more money. Whereas single-player games, especially games focused on authored story, get a raw deal. Now, I asked you, right? Yeah. A $60 Rockstar game is always going to make more money than a $20. No, I guess in terms of copies, right? So that model fits for me when I read that.
On a per copy basis, yes. If you sell your game for $60, you stand to potentially make more revenue than if you sold your game for $20. Yeah. We can at least say that. Obviously, if you really want to break that down, how much did it cost to make, or how much did essentially what we're trying to illustrate is that there's a knowing that you're selling your game for $60 versus $20, there's incentives, especially if you believe you're offering value for the price point. What I wanted to jump on is that, like, as a business person myself, I always try to evaluate the platform before I start getting upset or before I start getting mad, right? Like to say, man, I made this short game. My short game is not going to work well on your platform, so I hate your platform. Yeah. I don't think that's the attitude that you
that's the wrong attitude.
Right? Yeah. It's like
it's a knee-jerk kind of.
It's like going reaction. Fishing using mittens instead of a fishing rod. Yeah. Right? Like if you understand the dynamic of the platform, you know how to be efficient and how to use what's available on that platform.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variables that you don't like. Yeah. You're getting more eyes potentially that people would never pay attention to. All right, from the indie dev front, a lot of that business is kind of drummed up by your own, right? People who go eventually to buy your game is not going to find it by chance in most cases, right? You're in such a small market as is. Versus if you are in like a browse channel type of Game Pass and people are kind of passing by and you have some cool key art, you know, the impressions of it is increased ever more, and the chances of them liking the art, checking the description, maybe trailer, or playing it is infinitely more than having to like have a paywall in front of it.
It's like YouTube,
so it opens up so many opportunities for in the end have someone become a fan and more exposure for your project. And it might require some, you know, creativity outside of just paying for a product, right? Which I think indie developers should be at the forefront, always evolving.
Yeah, and I think the key there that also kind of relates to what I was trying to say is that, like you said, there's an opportunity, right? Indie developers are usually at the forefront of these opportunities. What I'm trying to express here, to pull a Larry Cam, if you know that short games aren't going to do well on that platform and you make a short game, is it the platform's fault that your game isn't lined up to be successful or as successful as a game that's like, hey, you know what does great on this platform because it's play per minute? Really engaging games that take a long time to complete. Because even though it may take more money for you to develop that game, platform specific, that's a better partnership.
Yeah, we're just getting some complaint that my mic is super low. Hello.
I got the mics at
we're
75%.
Good? All right. Just let us know on Twitch. Sorry to interrupt you, Larry.
That's all right.
All right.
That's why we have Twitch tech support. Thank you so much, TTS. So anyway, just to wrap up what I was saying, the hard part that I have with somebody being upset about the platform, saying like, oh, it's a pay-per-minute platform, just understand that that's the market. That's the rules for doing business there. If you evaluate that your product isn't going to do well there, then you might just want to avoid it altogether and find an area where your product will do well, right? If you're going there with your product that's not going to do well and you start kicking and screaming and demanding that they change what they're doing so that your $2 2-minute game can sell and be just as revenue producing as like a long form, very engaging, like you said, Red Dead, that will do great on that platform.
Your mic needs to be closer to your face. That's what they're saying. It's not my mic. There you go.
This is anyway. So if your game is not going to do well on the platform, and you go to that platform kicking and screaming and demanding that they change their rules, like you're totally missing out how free market and business is supposed to work, right? Go to the platform that will make your game do better. Go to the platform that you believe will give you the best advantage for what you're doing, or better, create the platform that you think will help make that game do well. I actually wouldn't blame a Netflix business model for killing the game industry or for, you know, ruining what it costs or what it takes to be a game developer because they've created an opportunity for game developers to sell games in a new way.
Yeah.
There's always going to be these shifts. There's always going to be these changes.
You got to adapt.
We have to adapt.
We have to adapt to the market.
Adapt.
You're not going to stop. This is happening.
Yeah.
To fold your arms and say, I don't like it because someone's going to play Rockstar more.
Yeah.
Or Grand Theft Auto more than my short 2-hour game. Of course. I mean, that's just how it always has been, right? Yeah. Of course, you're not charging $60 for your 2-hour game, right? You're charging $20. And yes, there should be a variable. Yeah. There is a difference between a 60-hour game versus a 2-hour game. And that difference, having that very small numerical value, I think is very fair, right? Because flip that on the other side, it's like, people have to complete a 60-hour game to finish my game, but it's equal to your 2-hour game, right? Yeah. Those guys won't be happy either. Yeah. Right. To have that variable is very important for this model to work.
And it's honestly, it's fair-ish.
Yeah.
Right? It's fair in a sense of like, hey, we have a pay per minute platform. Someone played your game for 5 minutes. Someone played their game for 2 hours.
Yeah. That's like everything.
We're treating you guys the same, but they created something that draw more engagement or more participation.
And let me kind of translate that to how you feel, right? When YouTube finally watching videos, their watching habits, they've been weighing it more towards minutes watched, more than view counts.
Yes.
Right. So how did you feel about that? Did you feel like something like that was appropriate?
Well, this is going to be revealing, but I actually didn't understand why that would be the switch until I started using one of my YouTube accounts that wasn't under my email that has no ads.
Right.
Because for the last couple of years, like my main YouTube account, I've been paying the $10 to get no ads. So me watching 30 seconds of video versus 2 hours of video, I didn't feel my experience changed whatsoever. So it actually didn't click with me until I have this other email for this old account that I was using and updating content on. And then I started watching videos on that account. if I'm watching a video of like 15, 20 minutes, there's 3 advertisement opportunities in that video.
So you get paid more.
So YouTube is generating more ad impressions because if a video is engaging and keeps me watching for an hour, that's potentially 4 different times that they can show me
more
a banner ad or completely interrupt the video and then show like a 10-second commercial and then go back to the video. So now I was like, oh, okay, it totally makes sense. I see. I was the privileged and I had like, well, what is let them eat cake kind of attitude because I had no idea. Then being on the other side and seeing how they actually roll out ads, I understand now why they go more for engagement versus just a view.
Yeah.
You see one ad if you just do one ad and they clicked it and they watched it, one view.
Yeah.
If you have an hour video, that still counts as one view. But I got 4 ad impressions instead of 1. Yeah. So I understand why they're going.
Yeah, as a business model and even as a consumer, I understand that. Yeah. And that is important, right? To just to just have that number. If someone's just playing for 2 minutes, right, and then leaves, it shouldn't be equal to someone playing 60 hours on a game. It shouldn't be. No. I mean, as a developer, you have to respect other developers' time. Yeah. Put into the game to allow that opportunity for players to actually play that long. So far, don't agree with you, Teddy. So let's go back. Let's see what other points he has.
I mean, I'm sure Teddy's smart enough to know that, like, if it's not going to work out on that platform, maybe find the thing that it will work out.
Yeah, no, well, the thing is, like, no one's forcing you to put the game. You always have that choice, right? You don't have to put on the Game Pass. You don't have to put it, just go out there and yell in a crowd room, right? Just do what you keep on doing as an indie developer,
No disrespect to these types of parents, but I'm not that type of parent where, like, if my kid sucked at basketball, I'm like, Coach, I demand you to get my son 30 minutes a game.
It's actually pretty important to point that out, right? So Teddy from Hyper Light Drifter was a successful game, a successful indie game. They drummed up enough noise. It was a huge game for indie developers. And so he's on a mountain, right, respectively, that he's able to kind of make these choices. Like, I don't want to be on the platform. But all those little guys, man, where every little exposure helps, they will crowd around something like this. It's like, hey, Xbox will actually help promote my game and put it next to fucking Shadow at War. That's a huge opportunity. Right?
It's a controlled and closed end marketplace right now, right? Again, you go to a movie theater, you have maybe 8 choices of movies, thousands of people. If you really break it down, you're going to see a lot of support, even for the shitty movie, because that's just the option that they have there. You know what I mean? You go to a buffet, there may be plentiful, but you're going to pick something that's there, right? So when you have this closed market environment, it's better to compete against 99 other games than 99,000 other games. So since this is new, since these things are on the rise, such a tasty morsel of an opportunity, especially for small guys, because it's so much better for them to think about being one of 100 versus one of 100,000, 200,000, one of 50,000, however many games come out a day. I don't know what the number is anymore, but it's something ridiculous.
There's a lot of games coming
3,000 uploads a day to Steam. Something ridiculous. It's just like YouTube now.
Right. So relatively short narrative experience are indie games bread and butter. A bulk of the market's most acclaimed titles are Harvested from the Game, Gone Home to the Moon, all these like very short experiences. And they help drive video games into mainstream conversations about art. Okay.
I agree.
Yes. Setting narratives aside, most indie games are inherently shorter than AAA, yes, because they come from smaller teams with vastly different resources. Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, was designed to take 60 hours to complete, though it required hundreds of millions of people to crunch to finish it, and was built by a handful of, in comparison, a small game like Celeste was taking 10 hours to finish, but was built by a handful of people on the budgets of thousands. Okay. Yes. I hope they're not making a case about this, because these are facts, but it has nothing to do with
It's not leveraging the argument.
It's not leveraging the argument, yeah. The indie scene is also where developers go to craft their pet projects, experiment with new ideas, all of which leads to a lot of 10-hour games and less overall playtime, translating to a bad deal for developers on a cost per hour. How is that a bad deal? What are you talking about? The profit margin, of course, with a smaller team is vastly way huger than a big development team, right? I mean, you got to factor
the opposite then. The profit margin for small developers is bigger.
So if an indie title game sells a million copies.
Oh yeah.
Versus
and 2 people made it.
Yeah, and versus a Red Dead Redemption only sell a million copies. The Red Dead Redemption team is a flop. Yeah. They will not be there the next day to even see those news. So what that only argues the fact that it's hard for indie developers, and if they do it right and have a good in good company, people finding them, they will sell well, right? And this doesn't help the argument.
Yeah, I think that obviously we all know that it's going to be difficult to make a really good, flashy, like super successful indie game when you're talking about small budget, small resources, small opportunities. Time is something that they may or may not have because they might be doing this when they get home from work kind of thing. We know that there's a ton of hurdles to try to be successful as an indie developer. But that doesn't mean that like just because this new platform exists, it's like ruining your opportunity further. It's like it really is a like take it or leave it, and it's not going to hurt your business either way. I'm not mad if I'm like a star basketball player that some of my friends want to play baseball. I have nothing to do with baseball. I'm still making money in basketball. People still watching basketball. There's platforms for what I do. Yeah. And if this new platform is on the rise, but it doesn't really work well with my business model, then so be it.
No, definitely.
I will say this though, if anybody is worried about anything, I just go back to streaming. Like streaming, I feel like is the biggest threat to small developers, single player, linear story narrative games, more so than a new platform to sell those games. I'd say the bigger threat is
for people to actually play your games.
Like, I bought the game. I've got 10 million subscribers. I just did a full stream. People loved it. I got all these donations. Yeah. I got all this money, all this sponsorship, all these commercials.
None of that goes to
my
developers.
4-hour stream. None of that went to the developer. Yeah. But also 3,999,999 people are also not going to buy the game potentially because it was a linear story-driven experience and they just saw the whole story.
They saw the whole movie, right? And again, that's on the developers, right? That's on the developer to evolve and adapt and to make sure that it is more than just a viewing experience. Yeah. That's just the way it is, man.
If you're in business, and this is outside of games, this is just in general, if you're in business and you expect money to come the same way it's always come, you are ignorant to the fact that society's interests, markets change and shift as time goes on. Yeah. New technologies, new experiences, new wants, new tastes, new habits. Yeah. Society and culture is always changing. It's always churning. You have to be agile and keep your finger on the pulse. If you are a stagnant business who's like, this is how we've always done it. Yeah. If your business model is this is how it's always been or this is how we've always done it, you are essentially just going downhill. Your trajectory, even if right now is going up, I promise you, your long-term average is
huge decline.
Yes.
Huge decline. So far, they haven't said anything to convince me, man.
Dude,
you're not making your
Ford,
case.
Right, was like selling horse and buggies. Like, horse and buggies, that's how we've always done it, damn it.
Well, just look at nowadays.
Premium leather.
Tesla, when they came out,
for your horses.
Everybody was the same thing. Exactly. It was a horse and carriage.
Okay, exactly. So Tesla comes out with like, hey, we want to be, fully electronic vehicles, yada, yada, yada. Remember how much...
Laughed out of the room.
Remember, exactly. Yeah. Look at Tesla now. Had the year where they sold more Teslas than Mercedes. Yeah. Mercedes.
And it's the preferred luxury car.
It is.
Everybody wants a Tesla. Very smart. As you can see, as a trendsetter... people are going to challenge you.
Actually, it's great that you brought that up and say that as a trendsetter, people are going to challenge because instead of competing with Tesla and trying to do better business, the stagnant business model, other big companies were trying to force tariffs or force Tesla out of like automotive trade. Yeah. They weren't doing good business by making better cars or jumping in that pool and trying to outswim Tesla. Exactly. They were trying to shut down the pool.
Yeah.
They were trying to forbid.
They're still trying to do it. Every time Elon tweets, they're always like ragging on them, saying that Tesla is going to go out of business any day soon, or anytime someone leaves, is like, look, Tesla is not a sustainable model. Stop buying those cool ass cars. It's like, no, dude.
You know why? Because Exxon, Gulf, Mobil, Texaco,
they're
in the resell gas business. Yeah. Tesla is not in the business of using gas, but providing people with cars.
Yeah. So the world is changing for developers now. That indie developers should be, championing this. Mm-hmm. So I'm very surprised to actually indie developers say, no, we rather just be out here as a lone wolf and figure this out on our own. It's like, no, man, we need help here. And I think it's a very privileged thing to say that you don't need the help because they've found success, right? But all the other, every one successful story has like thousands of unsuccessful ones. And those guys need the exposure. They need something like this to keep afloat And this is money up front. Yeah. That's something that people forget. When you strike a deal with Microsoft or Google Stadia, that's money up front that you can put into more of your other game development. And just let it cook, man. That's exposure. That's just a public face on a well-established platform that people can believe in. And when people walk into arcade, their intention is to play games, right? This is the difference between that and streaming and watching, right? Yeah. It's like they're going to Game Pass, getting the ready to play your game. As long as your key art is good, they're ready to play.
Yeah, and I guess there's a couple things that people need to remember. One, don't agree to a bad deal if it's a bad deal. Yeah. You can negotiate, right? Like if you know that you need, more than $400,000, but they're only offering you $2 million, don't sign. Yeah. Push back. See if you can meet in the middle and get something respectable. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for protecting your business, for protecting your bottom line, for protecting your opportunity to do future business. Yeah. So sign good deals. If you don't have a good deal, don't be desperate, because the desperation might hurt you worse. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I don't know. I'd rather have a little bit of money than have no money because I signed a bad deal that's going to pay me today, but like essentially, and I hate to use this word, but just rape you for the rest of the contract. Right. Like, yeah, we're going to give you $100,000 now, but we get 99% of everything that you make moving forward. Right. I mean, people will try to give you bad deals. Music industry, game industry, it doesn't matter. If there's a contract, if there's lawyers involved, at some level, you got to be aware of somebody trying to give you a bad deal. Don't sign bad deals. 2, don't be upset that a platform exists, because a platform is just opportunity. Yeah. If the opportunity ain't good, you don't have to take it.
Yeah. You still have your option before. But to try to shut it down like this is bad for everybody else, it's not your place. Yeah. It's not your place to say that.
It's like your neighbor throws this awesome party and you weren't invited, so you called the cops.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. So digital distribution isn't a new idea for games. Storefronts like Steam and GOG have been tinkering with this formula for a while. The landscape is still shifting today with newcomers like the Epic Game Store and itch.io. Developers expect more than ever from these platform holders, including a favorable revenue split. Steam, the App Store, and Google Play taught the industry about oversaturation years ago, and the possibility will be on the forefront of developers' mind as streaming marketplaces form. They'll want to make sure their games are actually visible to the people who might be interested in them. Apparently, Netflix is still learning this lesson. Blech. Dude, it's the search bar, man. If people are looking for your game, they'll find your game. Yeah. Right? Come on. Don't. I don't like how this is so against this idea. Yeah, there's no argument so far that first of all, I
haven't been swayed. I don't see how this
is bad so far, right?
I don't see how it's going to be bad.
So we're lucky as game creators to have leverage in our industry, and I hope our relationship with platform matures positively and empathetically. We have to weigh not just what a deal means for our team, but the precedent it encourages for our fellow creators. The platform has more money and power than we do, but we control the art. Yes. Yeah. It's up to you. Yeah. Subscription programs aren't new for the industry either, but they'll be critical in the coming generation, which is being founded on streaming and all digital gaming. Google's ambition with Stadia goes live in November. Meanwhile, Microsoft is starting their test Project xCloud and already has a fully digital diskless console on the market. Subscription services like Xbox, Game Pass, Stadia, EA Access, and PlayStation Now will be the backbone of these programs. They all offer discrete agreements with developers to determine the value of individual games and based on a secretive mix of metrics. Yeah, it'd be great, man, if they just publicize what those metrics are. I think, why wouldn't they? If it's just a variable, right? It's not like you're using an example.
Probably because it'll be
for competitors.
It'll create angst between companies that they may potentially work with. So, for example, Brandon Games gets a deal for $100,000 because based on the metrics.
Well, you don't need to have the figures.
I know. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. So, you get this $100,000 deal, and let's say that gets published. Well, EA or whatever one of these platforms already did a deal with, I don't know. So Larry Games. Yeah. And they gave me $500,000, and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. How did your metrics determine that they get more money than we do? So I could see that as they'd be playing cards that would make people upset about working with them if ever people cross-referenced and saw that theirs wasn't as big as someone else. We've seen that before in bonus culture. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that's the only card that I would see them playing as to why they don't just openly share and tell everybody why, we gave this company 28%, we gave this company 3%. Because not only will the people who made those games obviously be in uproar, but then think about the fans as well. Fans are already vocal about bullshit happening 2 games or 4 games that they believe in, that they love, or that they're part of. And they'll say, what? This piece of crap game got 500,000 and you only got this? That's why your business is going to fail. Like, it saves them all the headaches to just be like, look, here's this agreement that we want to make with you. Do you like this agreement? Yes, we like it too. This is mutually beneficial. Everybody's cool. Okay, boom. You don't know that we paid this other company $500,000 because we thought it was worth $500,000. That company doesn't know that we've paid you $100,000 because essentially, individually, each person was like, yeah, this is what I want. This is cool. So I think that in the sense of the company, it's smart on them to just be like, look, we have metrics. We evaluate your game's performance based on X, Y, and Z, and here's what we're prepared to offer you to be on our service. Do you take this agreement? Take all the time you need, look it over, call mom, call the lawyers, double check everything, come back to us if we have an agreement. If it's yes, we shake hands, boom, there you go, front page for the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree, dude. It's like before a deal is agreed upon, it has to be agreed upon. Yeah. It's like no one's pressuring you to do this. So let's finish the rest of this article right now. I mean, it brings up good points, as in like letting us know that people have concerns about this. Yeah. I was thinking that like the whole side is on this. Like our countrymen are already all for this, but it was very surprising to kind of see.
This is a very interesting article to take such a standpoint on, to be honest.
I mean, it's clickbaity if that's what they're going for. Maybe it is not that controversial at all, but to kind of take the opposite stance made me click on it. It's like, why is it a problem?
I hope we're not missing something and look like jerks.
Well, we're reading the whole thing point by point right here. We're breaking it down. So while we don't talk about the specifics of our business relationship publicly, we confirm we support our developer partners in Xbox Game Pass beyond the licensing fees they receive and ensure they are compensated fairly for having their games available. See, Xbox Game Pass, if anything, is probably the best measure of like, are the developers happy or not? It might actually be good to kind of talk to those guys on our podcast and bring them on. It's like, how does it work?
How's it going?
All right, the Game Dev Unchained next. So anyways.
A good barometer is like, oh, did you see the same company putting another game on Xbox Game Pass? Not first-party Microsoft owned, right? Like, if you see a new Halo, like, I'm not going to be, oh, yeah, it's great.
Right.
They're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know if you see, like,
the Metro guys are on there. Like, that's a huge
the next
game.
Mortal Kombat, the next Ninja Theory game.
Yeah, like, that's huge. Well, the Ninja Theory is Xbox now.
They're Microsoft. They did. Okay, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. But like at Metro, I was looking on there. Metro's on there, and that's a huge fucking game.
They've got 2 games on there, right?
Yeah.
Last Light and then Redux.
Yeah, the last 2 one.
The last 2,
which I want to play. Xbox Game Pass offers a library of more than 100. $10, yeah. Downloadable games for $10 a month, $15 when bundled. EA has a similar program. The back catalog titles for opening up a vault of back catalog titles for $5 a month. Both of these service players clock more gaming time. Of course, they spend more money. And they more comfortable exploring titles outside the comfort zones. Yes, that's how the model works. Xbox Game Pass has been a great place for narrative and short form games to find an enthusiastic audience. I think the fact that we're seeing teams make second, third, and fourth games available with the service shows that developers are pleased. Yes.
There you go.
Dude, that is someone with
super Swami, man. Like real, I'm always 2 paragraphs ahead. Like,
so okay, Game Pass members play nearly 40% more games than non-subscribers. Yes, of course, because you're only $60 every 3 months that you want to spend on games. Right?
Dude, look. So here's a great example. Gears 5 is coming out.
Yeah.
If you don't have Game Pass and you don't have Gears 5, but you plan on buying Gears 5 at full
that's
price,
a wish list.
Buy 6 months of Xbox Game Pass. Because Gears 5 will be on there. You'll beat it in 2 weeks. And that's if you play at an average pace. And then you have 5 months and 2 weeks worth of free games to play for the same value of just buying Gears 5 to have just that one game.
There's a wish list problem right now.
Yeah.
The wish list problem with Steam is that we get, on their side, they can see that people want these games.
Yeah.
But people are willing to wait for a sale. And even at sale time, they might wait for several sales later because they have such a huge library of games that haven't even gone through, right?
Yeah. I love this game, but not at $50.
Not right now.
I love it at $14.99.
I love it later. Yeah, exactly. So Steam can fix the issue if they make all those games on like a streaming platform for a subscription model.
Yeah.
And then developers can get paid right away because they will be striking deals beforehand to make it available.
Yeah.
And if anything, you be building a fan base, right? At the very least, a fan base that will be following you and support you even further and interacting with you, rather than waiting for 2 years after the fact that you'll either be in business or not, right? That's like a huge time frame for most people to kind of stay with their lights on, hoping that someday the wish list will convert into a sale.
Yeah, it's
time is not on our side as an indie developer, right? Streaming is a solution where they can play now because people are walking into the arcade ready to play, right? And better yet, they don't need to have a quarter in hand and pick. They can play every single game. It's a free for all day, right?
There's so much to contend with in trying to market and sell games these days. So like I understand, like it may look scary when like, oh man, I made this game. How do I make my money? Do I sell it here? Do I put it on this platform? Do we do multiplayer? Do we add in, gameplay mechanics that add a whole lot of randomness or variety to the experience to protect against streaming? There are so many things that you have to care about in making game product these days. So like I don't envy any developers in that situation right now, because a lot of our product has to defend itself against the market. We can't just make the like, oh, this is my single player narrative story with completely linear, but you're going to love the story.
Yeah.
You can make it, but I hope that your goal for making that game wasn't also to be very rich, because that game is like super set up for exposure failure, which is it got popular, everybody saw it before they bought it and played it because they don't need to play it anymore. That sucks for you. You know what I mean? So like knowing how people have to make games these days, like, yeah, there's a lot that we got to worry about.
There's a lot to worry about for sure.
I don't worry that being on Game Pass is going to ruin my business. I think that if you can get your game on Games Pass, and I know I sound like a cheerleader for Game Pass, but I'm getting a lot of value out of it.
If it starts with the consumer, are they happy?
Yeah.
All right. And then I think developers have to adapt it to and evolve their model to fit that, rather than indie developers happy first and then finding a market that will be attuned to you.
I got to share this comment. Indie Games Business, friend of ours, says it's a win-win from the MS and EAs and other nail in the coffin for GameStop. The more of these digital platforms that exist, the less reason you have to go to GameStop and not support developers.
I know, GameStop's so stupid now.
I feel bad. GameStop is the
Don't
next
feel
blockbuster.
bad, man. They're so slow on
it's
everything.
coming.
They're turning their. You remember that idea like years ago when I told them like turn it into a hit place that people want. They're doing that.
Yeah.
They just recently announced that like, hey, we just listened to the Game Dev Unchained. They told us to change our business model. This is what we're doing. It's like you're 3 years late to the party, man.
Yeah,
it's a positive step, but I can't believe they have so much money to burn still. It's like, why are you guys still up?
Well, man. Can you like their business model before the internet ruined their business?
Yeah.
Their business model was legit.
Yeah.
Sell you a $60 copy of Gears.
Yeah.
Right. You're done with it. I buy it back for $30. I sell it for $45.
Yeah.
I buy it back for $20. I sell it for $30.
$25.
I buy it back for $10. Sell it for $15.
They should have been on the subscription model ahead of everybody, but they didn't have the foresight.
One copy.
When they were like giants, where everybody was trying to get their game in their store, they should have been like, all right, digital internet is becoming a thing. We should strike deals now and become Steam, man.
Well, here's the problem that GameStop faces.
Yeah.
That's a whole company, I would imagine, even to this day. And I'm only basing this assumption based on the decisions that I've seen, not me knowing who actually is there. It feels like a company full of neckties. And not people who like grew up in gaming, who absolutely love gaming, like gamers who got business degrees. These are people who have business degrees who are in gaming.
Yeah.
And so that's why you would see them not necessarily looking at Steam as a viable opportunity for themselves, because they're like, look, our year-on-end revenue was better than last year's year-on-end revenue, so clearly we're doing the right thing. Right. More of this.
Yeah, more of this. Let's not change the formula. Jay Powell's gut checking us. He said that GameStop did buy a digital distribution platform, and they fucked it up.
The necktie strike again.
Necktie strike again.
I need more details on that. Then.
Yeah, I had never heard of it, but I can't imagine them like buying it to shut it down. This is our competition. We need to shut it down now.
The sad part is like for GameStop, them buying a digital distribution platform really hurts their brick and mortar business, right? Yeah. So like they're hurting their workforce. They're hurting their brick and mortar stores, so that top level web developers and executives have put together this platform thing that is replacing the revenue that they were going to lose from the brick and mortar. So they're like, hi, welcome to GameStop. My name's Tommy. Do you want to sign up for a free Game Informer magazine and buy the Power Plus Club? Like those people,
right.
They're not going to get any money from that.
Right.
Like they're losing their job.
Right.
So it's unfortunate to see, like, if they were to take a step in that direction, to also know that they're saving the right arm, cutting off the left kind of thing.
So I want to kind of, we're ending time soon.
Okay.
I just want to end it with this quote here. So Dino Patty, a co-founder of Inside Studio Playdead, another heavy hitter, described the situation on a Game Lab panel this month. As reported by Eurogamer, consumers want as many games as possible, as free as possible, and you can't get anything for free. So you need to find the right price, but that's the angle. I've been suggested subscription, and it's never worked out because they don't know what developers need, and in the end, it is developers putting out a game for free. Well, I mean, that's just a bad deal.
Yeah. Indie Games dropped some knowledge for us. Congregate is an American mobile PC and console publisher with web gaming portal. The website features over 110,000 online games, 30 plus mobile games available to the public. In 2010, it was purchased by GameStop Corporation and then acquired by Times Group MTAB in 2017. So GameStop had it for 7 years. And Congregate was dope. If it's the same Congregate I'm thinking of, it was like, it reminded me of like a Newgrounds.com. It was like Flash games. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't play any Tomb Raiders, Assassin's Creeds, or any big titles on Congregate, but I played like
tiny games,
like Nerd Home Run Hero, like small developers making Flash arcade style games. If I remember, that's my Congregate experience, me personally.
Right.
But I thought Congregate was dope. All right, Indie Games Business, thanks for joining and dropping a ton of gems in our chat feeds. And everyone else also, thank you for being a part of what we do here. All I know is don't be scared of new opportunities. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. If it's a new recipe and it don't taste great for you, that doesn't mean that it's the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What may not be right for you, something right for some. It takes different strokes.
I'm surprised you don't remember the full lyrics of that, man.
I don't. I was super young.
But that we'll fill you in on the rest of the lyrics tomorrow. Yeah. Joining us again 10 a.m. every morning, Pacific time, because we are on the West Coast in sunny California. We won't give you any further information than that. Somewhere in Southern California, in a White House. So
it's too much.
Too much info. So thanks for joining us on twitch.tv/blue_champs. If you're watching this after the fact, it's of course on our YouTube channel, Blue Champs. And thank you for all the supporters on Patreon and anybody that is our Twitch subscriber. We are ending our show today, but in about 5 to 10 minutes, we are coming back with our Game School Online show with Lyndall Kempis. So stay online to watch tutorialized digital arts. We talk about games, we talk about game news, we talk about game development, but now we show you how to game dev on our next show. So thank you everyone for joining us. See you in a bit. Larry, you want to see us off with your little ender?
Yeah. Okay, cool. When you finish your mural on the wall and you're using spray paint or in King Spray, when it's time to put that spray paint away, consider yourselves recapped.
Dope.